Hey, Tim Frisch with A Frisch Perspective here. If my voice sounds a little bit off, that's because I've been suffering from a little bit of a cold the last few days, and so I'm hopefully getting over it here soon. But I wanted to do a video today on an interesting subject that has to do with the Babylon Bee. I love the Babylon Bee Christian satire site. It's very funny, has a lot of funny articles. At least in my opinion, they're funny. Maybe some of you think they're funny too. But it was interesting. I saw this article, exclusive Babylon Bee CEO's Christian alma mater disinvites him from speaking in chapel. And this article came out from campusreform.org on October 3rd. It says Seth Dillon, CEO of a Christian satire site, The Babylon Bee, was disinvited from speaking at the chapel of his alma mater, a Christian school, because of its sacredness. Instead, the school offered Dillon a chance to speak in the university's library. According to Dillon, students inundated the school with emails due to his public disapproval of Black Lives Matter and his Christian understanding of sexuality. The article says Palm Beach Atlantic University disinvited alumnus Seth Dillon, the CEO of Christian satire outlet The Babylon Bee, from participating in a speaking event and interview at its chapel, instead changing the location to the school's library. The university had scheduled Dillon to participate in an interview at its chapel on the morning of September 30th. However, PBA community members reached out to the university with concerns about Dillon speaking in chapel, explaining that it represents a sacred space. Quoting his assertion that Black Lives Matter is a terrorist organization, a PBA student said that this should be enough not to welcome Seth Dillon to our campus, not to mention that every LGBTQ student has been disrespected and degraded by his content. Social media users did not provide specific examples of Dillon demeaning LGBTQ individuals. Cancel culture has come for me, said Dillon, who posted screenshots of people contacting PBA to speak out against him. I'm just too dangerous and divisive to be permitted to speak on the campus of my alma mater. Since when do you have to support terrorist organizations that use violence and intimidation to advance their agenda to be welcome on a Christian campus? Later, the article says that many students expressed disappointment that Dillon would no longer be speaking at chapel. And there's a tweet here that says, "Really disappointed. PBA University changed our chapel at the last minute. I know a lot of people were looking forward to hearing Seth Dillon." Dillon said that he is a graduate of Palm Beach Atlantic University, which he attended from 2000 to 2004. He is a Christian running a successful Christian media company and currently employs 10 Palm Beach Atlantic graduates on a full-time basis. He also told Campus Reform that he recently donated $300,000 in seed funding to launch a new master's program at the university. In a meeting with Dillon, Laura Bishop and PBA President Deborah Schwinn apologized and said that they wanted to rectify the situation. According to Dillon, Schwinn said that the university would look for opportunities to eventually have him back in the chapel. The article ends, "Cancel culture is a destructive disease and Palm Beach Atlantic University is not immune to it," said Dillon. "We need more backbone and less coddling in our Christian institutions, and we need it yesterday." So it doesn't sound like Seth Dillon is permanently disinvited from speaking at his alma mater, but obviously the school had reservations about him coming because of student reactions to him. It really brings up an interesting point about Christian satire. Christian satire is humorous, and it's meant to be humorous, but it is also meant to make a point. And there's no doubt that sometimes the Babylon Bee makes points that make people very uncomfortable. And Christian satire, because it's satirical in nature, it can be very biting and it can cause reaction. So I understand where people are coming from. At the same time, the point that Seth Dillon is making has to do with cancel culture and the fact that you really can't say certain things today or people will flip out and really come down against you. And I think that's what he's experiencing. Now, we have to be honest and say that there's always been cancel culture in the sense that there have always been things that were deemed inappropriate in social contexts. And so, of course, today these contexts are changing and dictating what people should be able to say, how they should be able to behave. And so cancel culture is shifting in many ways, and obviously it's coming down against Christianity more and more. Personally, I think some of the things that Seth Dillon has expressed directly, calling BLM a terrorist organization is very incendiary, and so I can understand people's reaction. At the same time, I've talked about the BLM movement before, the actual organization and the problems with it. You can check out that video that I did before. But getting back to the real point of humor and the idea of satire, I personally think Babylon Bee is great, and that satire serves a very good purpose. I do think our culture is overly uptight right now. I understand we're in stressful times and that plays into it, but just in general, for the last several years at least, the culture has just become really uptight about things, and it's hard for people to joke about anything. So I really appreciate the sentiments that Dillon is expressing here in this article, and I tend to agree with him. I really think he should be able to speak freely at his alma mater, even in a chapel setting, assuming the chapel setting is appropriate for the content that he's going to be talking about. But I would give him the benefit of the doubt there. The point is, though, that the students were reacting to him simply because of his personal views that he's expressed. And a lot of those views he backs up as having to do with his Christian faith. So it just shows you the dissension taking place in our culture at large, but even within Christian circles. I know from the videos that I do, people react strongly to some of the topics that I cover, and you have very differing opinions on some of these topics. And sometimes you totally disagree with me. I want to provide space for people to have good, open discussion, hopefully productive and edifying discussion. That's one of the aims of this channel. So I'd love to hear what you think in the comments below. I just thought this would be an interesting situation to bring up. Thank you so much for listening to what I have to say from A Frisch Perspective.